It's R&R here on San Antonio Sports Star. Don't adjust your speakers. Yeah, I sound this way. He's Rudy. I'm Rob. Coach McCarthy is, in fact, imminent for his Friday stop by. You figure, you come back from a vacation, rested and relaxed. You're supposed to, right?
I don't know if NFL coaches get a vacation. It's a great job, but at the same time, it's very daunting. It's a tough gig, and I feel like you always feel like there's something that could be done. A lot of people that own businesses are like, there's always something that could be done, even in downtime. So even in downtime, I'm thinking, especially for when you're in a pressure cooker like the Dallas Cowboys, there's something that can be done in the downtime. That's got to stink.
Remember, was it the old ball coach, old Florida coach in South Carolina? Spurrier. Remember when he went to the former Washington, the former Redskins, and he was like, "I'm gonna work 9 to 5, man. I'm not gonna kill myself."
And how did that work out?
Yeah, he was out of it.
Yeah, well, NFL wise.
Yeah,
he's a
he
legend.
Was out of that gig.
He's a legend on Saturdays.
But
sure.
that 9 to 5, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm going to leave it to the assistants. It's just not in the mindset. And you do come off of a week. Some interesting things coming into the game. And while the Cowboys have had a bye week, the Rams haven't been on the road in a month. They've played nothing but home games.
That just means they're going to be tough down the stretch. At some point, it evens out.
Oh yeah.
And then the fact that when you look up and you're under 500 and you've been home, that's when things get scary for Sean McVay and his staff, I'm sure. And not only that, you're facing the Cowboy team that's one, pretty good at home, and number two, really good after the bye week.
The idea of road focus. I don't know. Did you play better on the road? Some guys don't. Last night we watched Buffalo. They're a hell of a team at home.
They stink on the road, and then you look at Baker Mayfield. He stinks on the road. Not stinks on the road, but hasn't had much success on the road. So no, it matters, and some guys relish in it. You depending on what star you talk to, and that's why they're stars. Some of them love it, absolutely love it. When I think of Reggie Millers of the world, he loved being in the Garden, loved being on the road, loved the crowd booing. Look, because they love to shut the crowd up. So Brady, same way. So. Some guys love being on the road. I think it takes some pressure off of you.
I think
for some,
the ALCS. I mean,
I don't know if that was the Rangers or if that was the Stros.
Well, the Stros, I think, have learned to love the road because they embrace the suck. That team's booed more than anybody in sports right now.
Well, in our backyard, Pop loved it.
Oh, I think there's something to that. But you wonder what the effect of being at home for a month and then hitting the road is versus coming off of a bye week and playing at home. Because while Coach McCarthy might not have taken a break, if I'm a player, I'm going someplace and not even looking at a football for a day or two.
A day or two, yeah, okay. That sounds more like it.
But you can't talk about it.
The thing about it is what I've noticed in dealing with Pop and over the years is, when these guys get away, the last thing they want to talk about is their particular sport. You just kind of shut it all the way down and decompress.
But you can't talk about the fact that you want a break. If you go down to the Baja, if you jump on a banana boat, if you go do anything away from the game, you don't care enough.
Romo comes to mind.
It's just about that time here on R&R in the Morning. He's Rudy, I'm Rob, and brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds. It's your head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy. How's the car wash going this morning, Coach? How you feeling?
It's going well. Good morning, Rudy. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning, Coach. Good morning. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, I was going to say the mandatory question. You rested, refreshed after your week off?
Oh, definitely. But I, as a parent going through high school homecoming process, it's kept me up a little later than I like to be, but on the bye week. But no, it was a great break.
Coach, how many selfies did you have to take with people, or do you kind of put the hoodie on and just hang out in the back? It's tough being a celebrity.
Yeah, no, I mean the girls go to Prestonwood Christian Academy over there in Plano, and no, it's a great culture. So no,
Let me tell you something, Rudy. I'm gonna let Rudy in on a little little taps. See,
taps. There you go.
See, my boys are taps players as well, and we played Prestonwood, and they knocked us out of a variety of playoffs over my long and illustrious fatherhood career. At Prestonwood, Coach McCarthy's just another dude, man.
Oh, okay.
Just another dude.
Right.
Like, I know him.
Well
Wait, I
said.
know that guy too. How does Mike McCarthy know that
Yeah.
guy? That's what it's like when you go see a Prestonwood game. That's just a little San Antonio jealousy coming out, Coach. In all honesty, as you do take that week off, it's good to hear you get a little bit of decompression, but obviously the task at hand remains. And you do get a little bit of help coming back, Coach. And I'm sure you're glad to see Coach Blasco coming back into the fold as you kind of come off the quarter turn.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Jeff's a phenomenal coach. He's a big part of what we're doing here offensively. So it's great to have him back. Everything's good, but also we have a healthy football team, so we've been 100% practice both Wednesday and Thursday. So the bye week was very beneficial.
Tyron, I saw something about on practice that is he 100%?
Yeah, he's they had a look at his shoulder and neck area yesterday, but I'll get a more in-depth report this morning. But I think we're okay.
Okay, good, Coach. 11 in your career, 11-5 after the bye week. Where you feel like your success has come? That's a really good record after the bye week. What is your approach, and why do you feel like your record's so good after the bye?
I think number one, it starts with the health of your football team. Gives you a chance to get everybody healthy, and then you have a full flow week going into it. With the guys practicing. I mean, just from like volume, GPS and things like that. Both the Wednesday and Thursday practices have been our best statistical practices of the year. So, hopefully, I've always believed a good healthy preparation puts you in position to play successfully on Sundays. So I think that's a big part of it.
Coach Mike McCarthy joining us here on San Antonio Sports Star. You talk numbers and statistical things like that. We've talked a lot about the running game over the last couple of weeks, and I'm looking at some of your numbers. Averaging 30 runs a game. Statistically, is that where you want to be? Is that when you looked at your game plans? Is that by the numbers?
I think, Rob. I think you got to dive deeper into that.
Yeah.
I think you got to break down the games. We've had 3 games where we felt like the game was in hand. Middle of third quarter, into the third quarter. So we phrase that as a 4-minute offensive mode. So you look at those runs, but also I think that if you watch the flow of the run game, it was more productive in the earlier weeks than the last 2 weeks. So I mean those are the things that we focused on and went back and looked at the last 2 weeks. So I think with the numbers, you got to take a deeper dive. The biggest thing about the attempts always helps your linemen, and I do believe that because it gives them a chance to stay on the balls of their feet and roll off the ball. But the statistic that I think is most important is ball distribution. How many times is your perimeter players touching the ball?
Perimeter.
And running backs and receivers bind because in today's game and just with the rule changes and so forth, the space is an ally, and getting the ball in space is very important. So touches to your running back don't necessarily always have to be handoffs. So if you're operating on 75% plus of your ball distribution opportunities, over the sequence of a game compared to your total plays, that gives you the play to the efficiency that you're looking for.
I'm glad you brought up the 4-minute offense, Coach. I heard you talking about that the other day when you said 4-minute offense in 3 full quarters. Is that in you and your staff size? Is that a good thing or not where you want to be?
Oh yeah, you want to be in 4 minutes.
Okay.
Winning the game.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm see. You got to take me in the woods, Coach. I'm learning. I like to learn.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. No, and the reality of it is, 4-minute offense is really the design situation where it's a 1-score game and you're running out the clock to win the game. So necessarily, when you're winning by large margins, you're technically not in what we would call a true 4-minute offense sequence, but you are in a 4-minute offense mode when you're winning by 2-3 scores.
What's a large margin?
2 or 3 scores.
2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3 score game. 14, 20 points. You're ahead, and you're more conscientious of just first downs and keeping that clock running.
Yeah. Mike McCarthy sitting in with us for his Friday stop by, as he always does. This is kind of off the subject, but it's in the coaching realm. Sign stealing. I'm not going to ask you what you think about all that, but In your experience, in your long and illustrious experience as a coach and on several levels and several positions, is that a common worry? Are you legitimately always worried that some kind of part of your communication, if it is not totally intact, could be compromised?
I think the key here is the word compromise. I think it really is. It's part of the game. And
It's
it's
part of the
evolved
game.
over the years. It always has been. So because everybody's trying to communicate as fast as they can, everybody's trying to recognize what the opponent's doing as fast as they can, and anything in it that helps that is part of the process. So and it's changed over the years. Particularly, I was in the league. I think it was '94 when the communication came into the quarterback's helmet,
Mhm.
and then
Prior to that, how did they handle it? Running in guards? I mean, how did you handle that?
That was an option. It was done with hand signals.
Mhm.
So everything was hand signals, and the way we used to do it, and the terminology was very wordy back then. Is the quarterbacks had to memorize the formations, and then you would signal into play. So that's how the operation was that I was a part of in Kansas City. And then the defensive, they still kind of still signal some, because the thing about the communication is you get below 15 seconds, that communication goes off. So
Mm.
you still have to have the nonverbal
Right.
communication, things intact.
Is there a line, Coach?
Is there a
A
line?
line. Where's the line where you've gone beyond strategery and planning and proper prep to you're legitimately stealing something?
I think when you are able to, the line is if you just flat out do something illegal. I mean, if you're, you know, not that I know if it's ever gone on, but if you're into the opponent's headsets or things, something like
Oh,
that, or
gosh.
just
Got you.
anything outside of the rules. But to look over to the other side of the field and catch a signal and try to get that communication to your players, I don't think that's illegal. I mean,
As it shouldn't be.
yeah, exactly. I mean, just cover it up. If you're worried about
Exactly.
it, have a process where it can't be stolen too. So I mean, I think it's all part of the game.
Coach Dak talked a lot about
And I'm an offensive coach.
Yeah, I know. So you got to cover your mouth and all types of stuff. I see that big old menu you got, Coach. Dak
Yeah.
talked a lot about listening to his feet, and you talked about second phase. Where are you and Dak as far as listening to his feet in the process of what you want from him and actually what he's able to do?
Oh, I think we're growing all the time. I think we've had a very good week this week. The other part of that is to listen to his feet, but the connection with the perimeter players, and make sure that the routes are, timed up with his feet. So it's something you're always working on. It's connection, and it's always the difference from one offense to the other, because everybody, you know, may teach the four route a little differently, or some, how do you teach the post route? How many steps are you taking at the breaking point? So those are all the fine details that frankly you're always working on. And that's where I go back to is, today's NFL football player. I mean, the amount of time these men put in away from work, because that has to be done. And, with Dak taking the whole crew down over there to Georgia and having those kind of workouts, and those are so valuable, but you're always working on those things in season, because now you're more route specific, of what route you're running versus, certain players, on the other side. So yeah, so you're always working your feet in the time clock and so forth. But I feel like we're growing each week.
Do you like, I know Jerry talked a couple times this week about, the trade deadline looming next Tuesday on Halloween. Are you both on the same page as far as like, hey, the roster way it's currently constructed, we can make a run to Vegas the way it's currently constructed, and we don't really need to make a move unless, something just falls into y'all's lap?
Well, I think that's probably a healthy outlook. I think clearly that, we love our roster here. I really love the way our young guys are developing. I think our young receivers yesterday had about as good as the day that I can recall a young group having. I mean, so we're getting better, and that's just the reality of how you have to put the extra time and energy into your young players. That's why we have our young guys Friday and Saturday. I mean, our guys are getting ready to step in a 30-minute meeting from 7 to 7:30. Actually, we'll go to like quarter to 8 because the team meeting's not till 8 today. So you got to find those blocks of time to develop your young players, because at some point, they're going to be contributing, and history will tell you it'll come in November, December, which, some big important games in November, December, as you know.
As always, and a tight schedule on top.
Coach, I think getting to know you over the last few years, you let your men be men. But as far as Micah goes, do you feel like he pays attention to the noise a bit too much? And is that something you address, or you just let Micah be Micah?
I had a class back in graduate school back in 1987. It's called Coaching Today's Athlete.
Okay.
And
that ain't today's athlete. The textbook we used then is a bit different than the one today. Yeah, exactly.
I just think it's all part of the world that we live in today. So, but I do go back to the beginning of your question is, they're men, and Mike is a young man with a platform, and but he's got to go to heart, and it's coming from the right place. So I think that's part of the internal and external focus that you always manage and be aware of, and internally. I mean, he goes about it the right way. I mean, he's I think he's grown so much as a player, not just because of his ability, but what we're asking him to do, and the volume of his responsibility has increased each and every year.
How much of his podcast do you listen to, Coach?
None.
Yeah, I'm a little busy at that time.
But I'm saying is, do you feel like you need to start being prepared when you're talking to people like us? Because what did Micah say? Just in case.
No,
okay.
I mean, I'm sure if it gets to that point, we have people in the organization. I would hope would let me know. I see Mike every day, so no, I'm not. I'm not of high concern at all.
You got your game plan ready for Aaron Donald?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't play these guys without having a game plan for Aaron Donald. I mean, it's nothing's changed. I mean, he's still playing at a very extremely high level, and I think they're doing more schematically around him, than we experienced last year. So yeah, this is going to be a real challenge. I think both their offense and defense, schematically and in the way they're playing. I mean, the record's 3-4, but every game has come down to the wire. So I mean, this is going to be a super competitive game Sunday.
Interesting set of wide receivers, both those guys.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, you talk about the young and the old. Not that Cooper's old, but I mean, I think that you can see the similarities, in their play style, and obviously their production speaks for itself.
Coach, and I was talking to Rob before the show. I know you've been in 2 pressure cooker jobs, but have you ever taken this many the sky's falling questions and you're 4-2? I mean, I know when the season started, after 6 weeks, if you said 4-2, you'd walk away with that and tip your cap to the 2 losses and keep it moving, right?
Well, I think part of it too is the way our games have gone. But yeah, I'm not totally engaged in that. There's nothing good that comes out of that for me.
Mm-hmm.
To be engaged with those conversations, but I do clearly understand the passion of our great fan base, and and I've talked to the team about it. I mean, we've played 6 games, and man, it's been a roller coaster. I mean, we've had the highs, and we had one really low, and then we had one very disappointment. So and that's why games like the Chargers, you need those type of victories. You need the tight wins, come down to the end, because those are the games you have to win, when it counts in November, December, and then clearly when you get into the playoffs. So I've always embraced, victories that in the close games, because you need those as part of your resume as you move through the season if you want to be a champion.
It's good to see you revert to the level you're training. It's good to see where you're at on those positions and situations. Hey, Coach, as always, we bid you a good week of practice. Stay healthy, and we'll talk to you next.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, man.
He is head coach of your Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, brought to you always by AA Best Bail Bond.